Perfect. So the time is 7 o'clock. We are sat here in our lovely Bristow Place shop, which has been the home of Napier's for 165 years. I've got the lovely Dee Atkinson
Hello.
with us this evening, who's going to be our main webinar guest today. And I've also got Monica, who trained under Dee, I would say.
Yeah,
For a period of time.
alongside me,
Alongside,
yes.
yeah.
And you did the Heartwood education course, didn't you, Monica?
Yeah, the professional
A
course.
professional course, which took you
3 years, but
3
now
years.
it's 4 years. It's a 4-year pathway.
So you've
Yeah.
done incredibly well,
Thank
and I'm
you.
so excited to have you helping me here. And you're soon going to be helping us in clinic as well, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, exciting times.
Brilliant. And so I am the only non-herbalist on this panel today. So I'm sure my lack of knowledge will help you guys understand some of the concepts and ideas that the guys will be talking about today. So let's get started. So today's webinar is all about
Kitchen cupboard herbs.
Absolutely.
And herbs from the wayside and the side of your garden, all those things that you look at and think, well, it's just a weed, I'll just take that out. But no, it's probably a herb, and it is definitely something that you can use. So this started when I was opening my kitchen cupboard and I saw all those jars of herbs sitting there, and I thought, right, what am I going to do with all of these? I started looking at them and I thought, well, they're all medicines. I should start using them. And then I did. I started using the herbs in the kitchen cupboard to make simple remedies for the family. Someone starts to get a cold, somebody has a sinus problem, what can we do? And working up from there, I realized that actually you could lock me away in my kitchen cupboard for probably about a year. I've got enough herbs to do a lot of medicine, a lot of healing with. And I think it's really appropriate nowadays that at this time, that we just start looking at what we can do to help ourselves. We have enormous skills, enormous amount of herbs, and we don't always need to walk into a shop and buy something. We can make our food our medicine. We can certainly make our herbs and spices our medicine. And I thought the best way to try and demonstrate this is just to talk about some really simple things that I'm hoping everybody has in their kitchen cupboard, and go through how you can use them medicinally. It's sort of one of my favorite subjects, and going back into the 90s, I think it was around about 1994, 1995, I used to give this talk a lot. I used to actually do it on television sometimes and explain how to make foods and spices into medicines. And then we expanded it out and started going on foraging trails and picking things and making them into medicines. So to start with, I want to talk about rosemary. And we've got rosemary here and dried rosemary here. So the first thing, when you're opening your kitchen cupboard, your herbs are dried. So to get this amount of rosemary, we'd probably need double this amount. And the dried medicinal herbs, and the ones you have in your kitchen cupboard, probably have lost some of their medicinal action, but there will be still something there. The dried medicinal herb, you only need a smaller amount, and that means that they are very easy to use, they're very cost effective. So you could actually take a teaspoon of rosemary and put it in a cup and have a rosemary tea. And that rosemary is antimicrobial, antibacterial. It's very, very specific for upper respiratory tract problems. But the thing that students, and we all love about rosemary, is it's the herb of remembrance. It encourages circulation to the brain. There's actually a lot of research on rosemary at the moment, perhaps as something that could be used to support patients with Alzheimer's or dementia. And rosemary I love rosemary because it was worn in Roman times, a wreath around the head of the Roman senators. And if you use rosemary essential oil and just smell it, you can immediately smell the, almost like it wakes you up in the morning. And rosemary tea is warming, and it feels very nourishing. And many of us use rosemary when we're making roast dinners, and we put rosemary all around the lamb. And there's a reason for that, because when people used to buy meat before they had refrigerators, It would sit out in marketplaces. Often flies would land on it. It probably wasn't that hygienic. You wrapped it in antimicrobial, antibacterial rosemary, twigs of rosemary, cooked it. The essential oils came out of the rosemary, mixed with the fat of the meat, and actually made sure that there was no bacteria left on the meat. And then they would leave the rosemary wrapped around the meat while it cooled, and that also was a protective cover. So using rosemary in that way, it's a great way of making your food your medicine. So rosemary probably is one of my favorite herbs, and it can be taken as a tea on its own, or you can blend it. So we always look in a cupboard and we see rosemary, sage, thyme. They just happen to be standards. But all of them have those aromatic qualities. So when you take a piece of sage and give some to Monica and some sage to Arjun.
Thank you very much. It does smell incredible just being here with all of these herbs. It's just so nice.
So if you just bruise this a little bit with your fingers and then smell it, can you smell the aromatic qualities from it?
Essential oils.
Yeah, the essential oils are coming out here. So this is antimicrobial and antibacterial, but sage is also a digestive aid. So it's going to, when you start to drink sage tea or eat sage, it encourages the release of digestive enzymes. It's calming on the digestive system. And actually, when you smell something, that pathway, that neurological pathway actually starts our digestive process. So being able to smell is going to start the release of digestive enzymes and start the healing process. So sage, if you mix it with rosemary, you're going to get antibacterial, antimicrobial actions from both of these herbs. You're going to get the digestive element from the sage, and from the rosemary, you're going to get the support for the circulation.
Sorry to interrupt just there. You were mentioning earlier about dried rosemary versus fresh rosemary, and what are the benefits of potentially drying your herbs at home?
Well, the benefit of drying your herbs at home is that you're going to have them all year round. And you can also gauge the quality. Often we find with culinary herbs that it's the end of a bag. It's a powdered product and it's not particularly active.
Okay.
And also we've got things in our cupboard that have been there for years. I started looking at what I had in my cupboard before I came here, and there were herbs that were at 15 years old. So they should definitely not be there. But using fresh herbs is going to give you a completely different taste. All the aromatics are held in the fresh herbs, and your dried rosemary, if you take a pinch of this dried rosemary and just rub it between your fingers, you're not going to get the release of the aromatics. It's a completely
much more woody, less.
It's a completely different product. So these fresh herbs, as you can see, they've got body to them. They haven't been dried yet. They've got water. They've got aromatic qualities. So when you're cooking with them, they're going to be different. When they're using them as a medicine, they're going to be different. One of the fantastic things that herbalists learn to do is to blend. So herbal medicine is a bit like cooking. We actually blend our herbs, and the synergy of the herbs is more than the action of each individual one. So we were just talking about putting sage with rosemary. So rosemary, the herb of remembrance, the circulatory support, and then sage, the digestive support, both antimicrobial and antibacterial. Now, if we want to take it to the next level, we might reach for another herb. So I'm going to take some thyme here. And it's interesting, I don't cook with thyme very much. I might occasionally put a little bit of thyme into something, but it's such a strong flavour.
Yeah, you almost, particularly when you get it from the shops, it's always dried, and you only put a few sprigs in there, don't you?
Exactly.
So
So
chicken.
with chicken, yeah.
Yeah.
So Monica, when you're smelling this, what does this make you think about the actions of thyme?
Antimicrobial, yeah, definitely. It does remind me of like cough medicines I used to drink as a
Exactly.
kid, and lozenges.
It's quite strong.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly, you can smell the medicinal, the antibacterial actions of it. Oh no, it's going to start me coughing. And so it contains thymol, which has been used for centuries as an antibacterial and a disinfectant. So you can almost smell a disinfectant in it. It's very, very powerful. So a small amount goes a long way with this. So how do you make a tea out of it? Well, you can simply take your sage. You could take a teapot, put your sage in it, put a good sprig of rosemary into it, and put a little bit of thyme. And then if we added some boiling water to that, oh,
Just run up to the
I've got one I prepared earlier.
Just pour it so you can see.
Yeah, that's enough. Thank you. So you can already smell the aromatics coming off it. So it's a beautiful. It will become a beautiful color. The hot water is going to extract certain constituents out of it, and you need to cover it. So you cover it to hold the aromatics in. So the aromatics, the essential oils, are going to hit the lid. They're going to condense and drop back into into your tea. So this way you're getting the aromatic properties of the herb as well as the constituents that are extracted.
One of the questions we've just had is around the temperature of the water. Is there a right temperature? Is boiling water fine?
I use boiling water. You can make cold infusions of herbs, and it's a very nice thing to do with some of the herbs we're going to come on to later. But when we're making something like this, when we're using sage and rosemary and thyme, and we want to make a hot infusion, what we're really doing here is raising the body's temperature, and we're going to make someone sweat. So sage is a fantastic herb to make you sweat. So it's used to sweat out a cold. Old-fashioned term which works fantastic. If you start to think you're getting a cold, you make a nice tea of your aromatic herbs, preferably have a hot bath, drink it as warm as you can, and wrap yourself up, and you will absolutely sweat. So the act of sweating is going to kill off bacteria and viruses.
Amazing. And on that point, so you mentioned about the sage being very good for that. One of the viewers has mentioned around the menopause, and they say that they were taking fresh sage tea every morning, and it really helped. So is that again to do with that?
Well,
really
interesting that that's being brought up, because actually, if you're in the menopause, you want to drink cold sage tea.
Okay.
Sage tea taken hot makes you sweat. If you drink it cold, it actually stops you sweating. So many of my patients will make up a teapot of sage tea overnight, be cold in the morning, they put it in their water bottle, maybe put a few sprigs of mint in it.
Lovely.
And just drink it throughout the day. And it's fantastic at stopping at preventing and supporting people like have hot sweats. But this is your cold, the start of your cold and flu tea. So I'm looking here, I'm looking into my cupboard, my spice cupboard, and I'm thinking, I'm coming down with a cold. What am I going to do? I've got my sage, I've got my rosemary, I've got my thyme, but I've also got herbs from the Orient. I've got cinnamon and I've got cloves. Now, cinnamon and cloves were herbs that were traded as if they were money. They were valuable. They were medicinal. They had uses, and they were used in cooking. They were used in medicine. And today we still use them, and they have fantastic properties. I have to say that my favourite cold and flu tea is an old Dr. Valnet recipe, and it starts with cinnamon and cloves. You take 8 cloves, you take a good stick of cinnamon and you break it up, and you put it in a pot. I usually use just a saucepan with a lid, and you make a decoction. Now that's an important point to make, that a decoction is where you're boiling your herbs, and you often use it with the outer barks and the hard wooden buds and the roots of the herb. And the act of boiling it, simmering it, breaks down the outer layer and allows you to extract from inside the plant. So you simmer it, and then after about 10 minutes, you would add some rosemary, maybe a little bit of thyme, lemon. I add some ginger and lots of honey. And that is the best cold and flu tea. It was made in about 1916, 1917, and it was used during a time of Spanish influenza. It was really popular, and everybody would say that it worked. I did try it during COVID, and I used to have a big pot on the stove of cinnamon and cloves. I kept adding more ginger. Every morning I'd add some fresh herbs. Every 2 or 3 days I would throw it away and start again. And it was a really warming, nourishing, supportive formula.
Brilliant. Sounds excellent. I guess that's the great thing with a lot of barks and roots is you can reuse them quite a lot because they're packed with.
I use these for maybe 2 or 3 days, and you can still get active constituents out of them.
Just a couple of questions on that. So someone, one of the viewers has said, could probably add quite a few of those herbs to a salad to not only add flavour, but also some of the therapeutic qualities as well.
Absolutely, a great way to do them. And we used to do more of that. We used to forage, and we'd use dandelions and nettles in our salads and herbs. And now we just tend to buy
boring, isn't it? Cucumber and a bit of lettuce
in a bag, which
yeah.
I mean, I've never seen a salad grow in a bag. So I'm quite amazed that we
managed to put them in there.
we're eating them that way.
And then one, just going back to sage a little bit, sage is known to have some toxicity with long-term use. In many cultures, first quick brew of sage is thrown away, subsequent brews are drunk. Do you do that, or is that something?
No, I mean, I try and grow my own sage and would use organic if possible. Interested about the toxicity of sage. It's not something I've come across. Is it something you've come across, Monica?
No, maybe in like very high doses, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, I suppose that we should add in here that if you're picking herbs, obviously we've got lots of dogs around cities and countryside and other animals and insects. I usually pick them, I give them a good shake to get any bugs off them, and then I rinse them and then hang them up to dry, and then you're adding boiling water to them. So hopefully you are killing everything that's there.
Yeah.
But when you're picking your herbs, do look for ones that are not, on the side of the cycle path, for example, where everything gets chucked and all the dogs are peeing. You want to look for ones that are in areas that are, sensible to pick from, really.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, it's really good advice, and it can also form part of your wellness routine, actually going out and trying to find locations which are a bit quieter.
And harvesting your herbs. Yes.
Just going back to the remedy you were referencing just there, someone has asked for the name of the person who came up with that cinnamon and clove formula.
Well, I got my recipe from Jean Valnet, Valnet. He wrote an amazing book about aromatherapy, and this recipe was in it. And I've added things to it. I always put lemon in it. But the recipe was for cloves, 8 cloves, half a stick of cinnamon, decoct them for about 10 minutes. Then turn the heat off. You would have a lid on the pan. Put some good sprigs of rosemary in and let it infuse for a further 5 minutes. Strain it and then add the juice of half a lemon and some honey. So lemon has your vitamin C in it, which is a great thing to take when you've got at the beginning of a cold and flu as well. So it's a very nice rounded formula. So we've got some marshmallow root here. Now, this isn't usually something you'd find in the kitchen cupboard, but I thought we should put it here because it's an interesting herb to talk about. And it is one that I actually keep in my kitchen cupboard. And one of the things that people don't know about marshmallow root is that it's very soothing for indigestion, very calming on the stomach. But if you make a cold infusion of marshmallow, it's great for constipation. So it's one of the very, very easy herbs to take. And we use it a lot with pregnant women who are constipated. We use it with babies with constipation. And because it's so fantastic for acid reflux, it's a great kitchen cupboard herb. And the other thing that I sometimes do with marshmallow is make almost like a poultice out of it with a little bit of slippery elm if I'm wanting to soothe skin that's upset or irritated. You can use your marshmallow. You can make it with oats as well. I should have brought some Scotch porringers because they're very much part of the kitchen cupboard, and they're fantastic for making herbal baths.
So is the main action of the marshmallow root anti-inflammatory then? You mentioned
Yes,
there.
it's anti-inflammatory, it's soothing for mucous membranes, it's an antacid, so it's a great one for after dinner if you've got indigestion. And a cold infusion just calms down the bowels and calms down inflammation lower down in the colon. This centre platter, I've put together some things that I just picked from a little walk that I did with Lottie the dog this afternoon. And we've got nettle, dandelions and cleavers. So cleavers, you might recognise it's goosegrass, gallium aperine, commonly called in Scotland sticky willy. It sticks to your clothes.
Yeah, this is the stuff we used to chuck at each other as school children.
Yeah, absolutely. So wayside herbs, but this is a fantastic blend. This is a detox blend. It's a changing of the seasons blend. It's a moving from winter into spring. Before we had refrigerators and before we were able to eat whatever we liked every night, when we had preserved foods, by the time you got to spring, your body was craving spring greens. Your body was just needing to have nutrition. It needed iron, it needed minerals, it needed to be refreshed. Your liver needed support. This was a fantastic formula. This formula was actually made into a beer and it was drunk. If you look at beer remedies going up the countryside, there were very often medicinal beers and ales that were made using herbs. And these were the kind of herbs that you would find in some of these ales and meads. They were also, this was also drunk as the spring tonic. So it helped with your skin. And for me, this is one of the best skin remedies. It's an odd thing in clinic that you often find as the seasons change, that you get patients coming in with skin problems. Over the years, I've had so many patients coming in with psoriasis, with eczema, with boils, in seasonally affected problems. And I would often say to them, well, let's start drinking these herbs. Let's make teas. Let's use nettle and make soups. Let's drink dandelions. And blood cleansers, detoxifiers, purifiers, old-fashioned terms, hardly what we call medical language, but they're plants that can be used to support you as you're changing the seasons. And I love them. I always, as soon as I see dandelions coming up, I know that spring's here and it's time to start putting these leaves into your salads, to make teas out of them. Nettle tea has the most incredible flavour. Fresh nettle tea, it's so different from dried nettles. And you just put a pair of rubber gloves on, pick the top of the herbs, and then you can even sort of dry them and have your own nettles. I'm sure you've made lots of teas and
with fresh herbs.
With fresh herbs.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's
yeah,
your favourite one?
I do like fresh nettle, yeah, and I like those aromatic herbs, region volatile oils, so like thyme, rosemary, all the ones that you've covered. They're really nice as fresh herbs. Yeah, you can drink them for so many reasons, as you said, they're antimicrobial, but they can help with your digestion as well. So I feel like I do reach out for them quite a lot for various reasons.
It's interesting, when we were talking about doing this, Monica was telling me that her mother used to make onion syrup.
Yes, yeah.
And my mum used to make onion syrups. In fact, my mum used to make loads of herbal things. And the reason I got into herbal medicine, became interested in herbal medicine, was part of my childhood was spent on an organic farm in Wales. And my mum used to go out and she used to pick dandelions. I mean, she made dandelion wine, but she would also pick rose hips and hawthorn berries, and she would make syrups and juices, and she would make cough remedies and all sorts of things. And on the farm we'd kill pigs and she would use the lard and make ointments. And it was really a big part of my childhood to watch this happening and to watch the seasons change and just to be part of it. But I always remember the onion cough syrup, mainly because I absolutely hated it. There was no two ways about it. So Monica reminded me of it. And I don't know, how did your mum used to make it?
So her mom taught her. So
Okay.
it was my great grandmother who taught my grandmother. So it was kind of like a generational thing. So very often when I was a kid and I was coming down with something, my mom was like, okay, well, onion syrup on the go. She would just chop it up very quickly, put it in sugar or honey, just leave it for 3 to 5 hours and then strain it. And then I had my cough medicine. It was very good for, yeah, as an expectorant, but also antimicrobial. So yeah, I did
And Monica, how's the taste? Did you get used to it over the years?
liked it
Yeah.
because it was quite sweet, and I was brought up eating like raw garlic as well when I was ill. It was usually just like raw garlic on a slice of bread with butter. So I kind of like those like spicy, oniony, sulfury veggies, but also it was sweet. So I kind of liked it. Yeah.
That chopping up garlic on a slice of bread with butter is a fantastic way to take something, because the fat in the butter will extract some of the actives from the garlic. It'll also protect you from being burnt as you're swallowing it, because garlic can catch the back of your throat. And then it's going to help with the digestion. You've got the fat of the butter to help digest the garlic. I'm a bit of a butter fan. So we've made an onion syrup, and I love it because this little plate that we've made it on, when I first started working here, I think it was 1988 when I first walked across the door of Napier's. There was a tea set. Here it is. Here's one of them, the one remaining one, and the little plate. And all the ladies who worked here would have their afternoon tea using this teacup, and it was often herbal tea. And then they had once a week cakes would be bought. There was a baker around here, and cakes would be brought in, and then we would have tea and cake, and it was quite a ritual. So I love it that we've got these were probably here when John Napier was practicing here, and it just reminds me of the incredible history in this place. I know it's light outside and it's too early for ghost stories, but can I tell you one?
Yeah, please do.
I'm always ready for one.
So when I first started working at Napier's, I just was practicing out of one room, and I made all my own remedies. I had my own dispensary in the room, and I would dispense the medicines to the patient. And in between patients, I would answer the phone. And I did that for a couple of years. And then I had the privilege of being able to work further in the business and eventually take over the business. But we used to have this strange thing happen at night. We'd been making something. We used to make everything here. We'd make pokeroot ointment and marigold ointment, and we'd make syrups and lobelia cough syrup. And then we'd lose something. And we'd come in the next day, and there it was on the table. And we'd all just look at each other, and we'd all just feel a little bit scared, and then all go and do our things. And one day I was reading the newspaper, and I saw an article about a healer from South America, from Colombia, and he was working with some anthropologists at Stirling University, and they were bringing him over to Edinburgh and Glasgow. And I wanted to meet this man. I just suddenly felt I had to meet him, and he was in his late 80s. So I got in touch with the university, and they brought him here, and we walked into the shop, and I couldn't speak his language. I had a bit of Spanish. He didn't speak Spanish. There was a translator. And we went downstairs, and at that time, this building downstairs was full of piles of herbs, big sacks, and we had drums that we made all the tinctures in, and we still had the old burners where we'd make up the ointments. And we went downstairs, and he looked at these herbs, and he walked straight up to a pile of herbs, and he went, "This is not good." And I looked at it, and I went, "No, I know it's not good. That is the 500 kilos of lobelia that I bought that I'm never going to use, that someone told me I'd probably need. So we're going to have to find a way of getting rid of that." And then he walked around the herbs, and he was touching them, and he started talking about how you use them. And the anthropologists were all trying to find out what we were talking about. And suddenly something happened. We started talking to each other, and we had no language, and we were just talking herb. And he was going this, and I was going, "Yeah, here." And he was going, no, here. And I was going, "Yeah, and this one for here." And suddenly this language was there, and it was the most amazing experience. And we were here really late, and we just felt that the presence of Napiers and the whole healing generations that have been here were in this building. Sorry, I've taken you
Amazing.
on a
Bit of
it's a
history.
weird story.
Thank you.
I still feel that the healing energies are in this building, and the healing energies are obviously coming out of this onion. And here we have an oniony syrup. So Monica, I'm hoping this is going to remind you of your childhood. Let's not get it on the apron, she says. Arjuna, you go try.
I'll give it a go. I can't say
Ooh.
this was a remedy that I take. I was definitely more just lemon and ginger kind of.
So strong.
Can you
It's
taste the
amazing.
onion?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I
That's actually really
like it.
nice.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's spicy.
That surprised me. I
sweet.
was expecting that to be horrible. I mean, I do like onions. I do like honey, but
Yeah.
That
tastes
is delicious.
It's really good.
That is really good. So
Yeah.
So how long? You said about 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
Let it.
Usually my mom would like do it in the morning and then it was ready by evening time. She would also put some onions in my socks for
now
the night.
that is a really old remedy.
Yeah.
But what you have to remember is you have to have one sock on your foot, and then you put the onion or the garlic. So it's between two pieces of cloth.
Yeah.
You must never put it straight against your foot. So talking about onions, we've got some garlic here. So this is how you start to use your kitchen cupboard. So you go into your kitchen cupboard and you start thinking, well, we need to make an onion syrup because Monica's got beginning of a cold. And I would go, well, do you know what? I'm just going to chop up some garlic and add it into it because I'll make a garlic syrup as well. Garlic and onion, that would be fantastic. And then I'll think, well, I've got some turmeric here. So turmeric is going to be antimicrobial, antibacterial. It's going to help with the gut. It's a fantastic anti-inflammatory herb. Maybe I'll put a bit of that in. And before you know it, you're becoming a herbalist. You're starting to build your remedies. So what I'm trying to do is say that herbal medicine doesn't need to be a science. Yes, there is a science of herbal medicine. And yes, we use that in our clinical practice. But our everyday practice, we should make our food our medicine. We should use all these wonderful spices and herbs that we have and just bring them into the kitchen, and even more so, bring them into our everyday use.
Brilliant. I think that's really good advice. I think one of the things is just to add more of this stuff into your diet. Often it can be a bit of a shortcut to ignore it, but actually when you're cooking at home and you're making yourself a pasta or whatever, maybe put in an extra clove of garlic or a bit of thyme at the end, whatever it might be, just try and incorporate it a bit more.
And don't forget to make teas. I think we've got a wonderful Napier springtime tea here, which I absolutely love. And it's always a shortcut. It's got gallium in it, cleavers. It's got peppermint in it. It's got a herb called plantain, ribwort plantain, and elderflower. So it's a great spring tea to just help you if you're starting to feel a little bit run down, if you need the elderflowers for the cold and flu, antihistamine as well. Nettles. We both almost forgot that. Nettles, one of the other reasons for drinking nettle at springtime is it has antihistamine properties. So this is a time of year where we start to think about hay fever. So what can you do to support yourself through a hay fever season? Nettle. Before the season starts, start drinking your nettle tea. Take your garlic, drink your nettle tea. Honey is also really good for hay fever.
And onion, I think it's rich in quercetin.
It is, absolutely. So we've got all of the anti-inflammatories here and things that are going to reduce your susceptibility to hay fever. But one of the things about herbal teas, and maybe this is where the sage comes into it, a medicinal tea traditionally used to be an ounce of herb to a pint of water. So if you think about that, this teapot would be stuffed full of herb, and then you'd be pushing the water into it, and it would be black. What you would be drinking would be really unpleasant. I mean, our medicinal teas are pleasant, and we look for that lovely flavour. Whereas a medicine, to make a medicine, we're going to make it incredibly strong, and it's going to be something that you really have to work on swallowing.
Just generally on that, I think there's been a few questions on amounts, generally speaking, of what people should use in, say, a tea or an infusion. So maybe we should just go around and you can talk
Well,
about what you would do.
I mean, taste comes into this definitely. You know, we've all decided that thyme is really strong, so you're only going to want a little bit of thyme. But if you're going to drink peppermint, you might want. I mean, if I was drinking a peppermint tea, I'd have all of this in my peppermint tea because I like a really strong peppermint tea. You know, rosemary, it's quite strong. Very volatile, you're probably not wanting a lot. Nettle, I would want it really strong. So I'd be packing this teapot with nettle herb and filling it up. When I'm coming down to the aromatic spices like cinnamon and clove, or if we're using star anise or some of the other aromatic spices, they're a bit more expensive. I'd be using less of them. Also, they're very strong. So there's a taste element here as well. But if you're trying to treat something medicinally with a herbal tea, you're going to need volume and you're going to need a lot of extraction. So rather than just putting a whole leaf in, you tear it up or chop it up so that you've got more surface area to be extracted. So the same with ginger. If you were using ginger, you would chop it finely or put it through a press. What do you call it?
Like a garlic press or crusher.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then you'd have more surface area for the
I
extraction.
guess during that process, a lot of liquid comes out of it, doesn't it? That's where all of the bacteria you're talking about.
Absolutely. So ginger's got volatiles as well. And we were looking at the beautiful Napier's beautiful essential oil display, and almost all of those are herbs that we could use in culinary ways as well as an essential oil and as a medicine. So we've got in front of us here, we've got a medicine chest. It simply is a medicine chest. We've got something that we can use here, turmeric as an anti-inflammatory for our joint problems. We've got garlic that we can use, that's ginger. We've got garlic that we can use, for infection, for colds and flu. We've got ginger that we're going to use for nausea, for calming the tummy, as an after dinner drink. It also helps you deal with colds and flus, helps us sweat things out. We've got antihistamines. We've got the wonderful dandelion, which is a diuretic, and it's also combined in this way, acts as a blood purifier. We've got marshmallow for the tummy. We've got cinnamon, which is a blood sugar balancer as well. So we've got rosemary, herb of remembrance. We've got a lot here. This is my desert island collection.
Excellent. And which one would you have to pick, or top three?
Arjun, I've always wanted someone to ask me that. Which one am I going to take my desert island? Well, I've always said it was garlic, and I think it would be because I'm going to be able to put garlic on the fish when I barbecue it, because I am going to be able to catch some fish. I'm going to be able to put garlic onto wounds. I'm going to be able to use garlic for sore throats. I'm going to be able to keep spiders away with garlic. I'm sure it does that.
Therapeutic and tasty.
Absolutely.
And I guess the key thing in garlic is that allicin is the main compound there.
Yes, it is the main compound in it. And Monica, what is your desert island herb?
It's not here actually. I think it would most likely be chamomile, because it covers a lot of things like it covers digestion, it's quite antimicrobial as well, it's good for sleep and stress, it's good for fevers as well. So I feel like it would keep me healthy and calm.
It's a beautiful herb to take. Arjun, which one would you take to your
I think I'd probably go for the nettle because depends on what the desert is like. Maybe I won't get that much hay fever, but it could make a really nice pesto with it.
Oh, good point.
Teas.
Yes.
And I think just for the vitamins and minerals, I'd want a bit of a boost. Yeah, a bit nutritious.
And if you ever developed arthritis, you could beat your arthritic joint with nettles.
There we go. Well, that's another one.
Well, the Romans used to use nettles to treat arthritis, because it's a counter irritant. So if you sting yourself, then it brings blood supply to the area and takes down inflammation. So they use big Roman nettles, and you can actually see the Roman nettles around Roman forts and Roman sites across the UK. But nettle is an amazing herb to take to desert island because you can make a cloth out of nettle. You can make a very fine linen. You can make a food out of it. You can eat it. You can make a medicine out of it. So it's something that you can use for many different things.
You're taking me out my I'm making clothes and stuff like that. I think it's probably be what we can do.
But,
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's fantastic. So yeah, I think it just gives the viewers a real good sense of these are just things that you can find in a supermarket, pretty fresh. If you don't have the option to go out and forage them or grow them in your own garden, a lot of these are very hardy and easy to grow, really, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes.
And can grow pretty much all year round.
Yeah, you can grow them indoors all year round or outdoors. I mean, you could get some fantastic, great big rosemary bushes. It's just like having a piece of medicine in your garden. It's wonderful. So there we go.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. I hope you guys have enjoyed that segment and that chat, that initial part. We're now going to go on to some questions which we've received.
Great.
So I'll just put them to the floor, and Monica and Dee can both answer them. Let's have a look. So one question was around how much nettle or dandelion you would need for a tea. So I think we kind of covered that, but
I almost picked the nettle up, but a good handful is definitely what you need. And yes, you do it to taste.
And this is a silly question potentially, but if you were to eat it raw, does that affect the mouth? Like,
you mean if you ate raw one nettle?
Yes. So how would you combat that? Is what I was going to
Well, first of all, you would not eat it, and secondly, you only do it once, Sergeant.
Yeah.
And secondly, you put it in hot water, and that removes the stick. Yes.
Same song in the audience, I'm sure. Brilliant. And then someone has asked about any textbooks that you can recommend as they would like to expand on
Well,
that.
I've actually brought one of my favourite books by David Hoffman. It's called The Holistic Herbal. This is, I think it's possibly out of print, but you can definitely get secondhand copies. So David Hoffman was an amazing herbalist. He's one of the herbalists who got me first interested in herbal medicine. He used to practice in South Wales, and my dad, when I was about 14, 15, went to see him. My dad had a stomach ulcer, and David Hoffman gave him some herbs. And it's just a really great general book. It goes through the nervous system, reproductive system, urinary system, gives you lots of ideas about home herbals, how to make herbal medicine, how to use herbal medicine. So that's definitely my go-to book, and I still go to it and I still use it. And the book that you'll see all herbalists going to is Bartram's Encyclopedia of Modern Medicine. So again, this is probably out of print, but again, you can find it, and it's just the best book. It's basically Thomas Bartram's practice, his years and years of practice that he put down on paper, and you just go through it, and it's just incredible. Herbs for dermatitis, detoxifiers, detergents, dementia, chicory, chilblains, bush tea, bursitis. Amazing. And it's historic. It's still got plenty of good recipes in, and it's just a lovely book to have. But for the absolute beginner, I would say this one, The Holistic Herbal.
I really like Andrew Chevalier's
Absolutely.
encyclopedia. That
Yes,
was the one I
That's another
started
great
my
one.
herbal
Yes.
journey with. Yeah.
That's Andrew Chevalier and his Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine.
Excellent. Some really good recommendations there, guys. So hop onto your favourite bookshop and try and order them as soon as possible. Someone's asking about pepper with turmeric. I don't know, there's no real context, but yeah.
No, that's an important point. The piperine in black pepper is needed to make the turmeric, the active constituents of turmeric curcumins, absorbable. So if you were buying turmeric, you would be looking for one that contained piperine or black pepper. And that's also why we put black pepper on a lot of food. I should have bought pepper, actually, it's a great medicine. But you put your pepper onto the food and it helps with absorption of certain active constituents.
Fantastic. That's something that I absolutely learned because I didn't realise that.
Great.
What's best, the roots or the herb for nettle and dandelion?
Okay, well, both nettle and dandelion, with nettle, we use the seeds, we use the root, and we use the leaves. So when you're making a tea, you're probably only going to have the nettle leaf. The seeds, you have to go and harvest them, and it's quite difficult harvesting nettle seeds. You need a lot. So you would probably just use the leaves, and harvest them. I like the young nettles. I don't really like waiting until they're old. I like the nettle tops, the young ones. Dandelion is interesting because we obviously use the leaves, but the root has a different action. So dandelion leaves, I always think of as for the kidneys. They're a diuretic and they contain lots of potassium. The dandelion root is a laxative. Now the dandelion root, this little fellow here, the root was probably about that big. So if you've ever dug up a dandelion taproot, it's an incredibly interesting thing to do. That's kind of nerdy stuff that I do when I'm just. So the root is for bowel problems. So if I was trying to support somebody who was constipated, I would be using dandelion root, probably mixing it with marshmallow root, maybe a bit of slippery elm, and giving them a gentle laxative. I don't really like using senna in the big ones, but I'll use something gentle like that. It's what we call a tonic laxative.
Fantastic.
Speaking of dandelions, another kind of home remedy that has been passed on for generations was actually dandelion flower honey. So I used to collect that with my mom and grandma, and we used to infuse it in honey and just use it for the immune system. So yeah, we use the flowers as well.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah,
That's
dandelion
amazing.
flower wine, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Another thing.
So the kind of thread that we're kind of coming across here is that a lot of this is passed down from generations. So
Absolutely.
I think it's great for the people who are interested, the viewers, to start learning about it, start to make your own remedies so you could treat your own family and friends.
And I think what's coming out is that you come from a long line of people who've used herbs. Obviously your mum and your grandma have used herbs for years.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom would also make pine pollen or pine shoots honey
Amazing.
because we live between two forests. So it was another go-to remedy for coughs and infections, and just to keep us healthy in winter time.
So I suppose for cough, so we were talking about the onion syrup, but thyme is an amazing cough syrup. Can be made into cough syrup because it has all of the antimicrobial, antibacterial actions. And thymol is very, very strong antiseptic. So if you made your onion syrup, you could put your thyme in it as well.
Absolutely, it's a good expectorant as
It's
well.
a fantastic expectorant, yes.
And for the viewers, an expectorant is something that helps to
bring up phlegm, to help you. It deals with coughs and things. So if you've got a really bad cough, an infected sore throat, using these sort of honeys, medicinal honeys. Now, making a medicinal honey is a valid way of extracting a plant, and it's one of the ways it used to be used. It's called an oxymel. So using honey as an extracting agent is something that was done in herbal by herbalists for centuries.
And with that, in making an oxymel, the longer you leave it, the better it is, or is there a certain amount?
There's usually a certain amount of time. What tends to happen through osmosis, if we leave this long enough, we'll get a shell of an onion left, and all the liquid from the onion will be in the syrup. So we can just throw that away. But then it's preserved for years. So there's a really old story, and I have no idea how true it is, that garlic used to be taken and chopped up and put into a great big pot with layers and layers of honey and layers of garlic.
That sounds quite nice to me.
Then it was buried, and then it was dug up at a certain birthday, maybe your 50th birthday, not in this country, and then you would have a spoonful of it every day, and obviously it was for cholesterol.
Wow.
Lowered blood cholesterol levels.
Fantastic. It seems there's quite a lot of questions coming through about nettle specifically, so it looks like we've hit the right tone with that one.
Hit the nettle jackpot.
Yeah. Is there a difference with a nettle when it's flowering? Does it really matter?
Well, there's a difference in that it looks different, and also when you see the nettle seeds on it. But as I said, the young nettles are the best for making these sort of nettle teas. But if you're watching a nettle, you're going to get them all year, aren't you? So you get them at different stages, and you get different stages of nettle all in the same patch. It's not like you have some nettles that have gone to seed and some nettles that are just flowering.
Fantastic. There's a question here about hay fever. Is there anything I could use on sore eyes? Hay fever leaves them itchy and sore. I guess one of the things which isn't really necessarily a home remedy is maybe eye brights. I don't know how available that is out and about.
There's lots of it out and about. You can pick eye bright up, and you could make a cold compress with eye bright, or using Monica's favourite herb, chamomile. And you can drinking chamomile and nettle are a fantastic hay fever combo. But taking chamomile and making a tea out of it and letting it go cold, you can even put it in the fridge, and then putting some cotton wool and putting cotton pads on your eyes can really help.
Even tea bags could be
Yes,
just infused. Yeah,
absolutely. Black tea is great for putting on your eyes as well.
Excellent. Do you have any recommendations where to buy organic plants such as lemon balm and lemon verbena?
A good nursery. So I'm not sure where you're calling from. In Scotland, we've got Binnies, we've got other nurseries. There's a fantastic herb nursery on the Black Isle, and I think they post things out as well. So you just need to look around for a plant nursery.
Yeah, we tend to do well, almost exclusively just dried herbs here in England,
Yes.
just because for us being a shop, it's not possible for us to have fresh herbs. But yeah, there's plenty of really excellent
Absolutely,
nurseries
excellent
and places you
nurseries.
can get them.
Yes.
Let's have a look. Our local greengrocer has turmeric roots. I have never used this, only the ground turmeric in jars. Is the roots more effective? How do they use it?
Right. So we've got some turmeric here. I just bought this afternoon at the local shop. You would take the peel off, crush it up and use it. You can make a tea out of it, you can cook with it. However, to get a medicinal quantity of this turmeric, you're going to need so much of it, which is why buying turmeric in capsules is the most popular way. You can make turmeric teas as well, can't you?
yeah.
I don't like them because they stain my teeth, but
And your fingers when you
And
peel
your
it.
fingers, exactly, yes. But it's an odd one because I actually like using all the fresh herbs, but turmeric is one of the ones that I will use a capsule. And when I'm using it medicinally, I like to have ones that have high levels of curcumin and some of the other actives. So I use ones that are specifically we've worked with them at Napier's and made them for our patients.
Brilliant.
We have some very good ones.
Yeah, they tend to be very expensive supplements,
Yes,
don't they? So
because,
just how
well,
much you need.
How much you need.
Yeah.
And I mean, I suppose spices and herbs are expensive. They, the trade in them is a bit like stock market. They go up and down in price all the time. So trying to get a good quality and trying to get a secure supply is difficult. So when you go into your herb shop and they go, I'm really sorry, we're out of stock of something, actually that's a good sign, because that means that they are really looking after the herbs. They're making sure that they only buy things that they know are actually the herbs that they're meant to be, because a lot of people sell things that are not properly identified and might not be the right herbs. So you would expect them to go out of stock. They're seasonal as well.
Fantastic. Can you recommend something for the nervous system? Home remedy for the nervous system? Is there anything you guys can think of?
Chamomile,
Lemon balm.
lemon balm,
People grow it in their gardens.
and skullcap, which is a wonderful herb, probably one of my favourite herbs. Valerian, passion flower, lime flowers are a wonderful nervous system tonic.
And these are tend to be called nervines in herbal medicine.
Yeah,
That's the grouping.
they're called nervines. And interesting, we haven't actually got a nervine on the table. I could have brought some lavender, because that's a herb that you often find in people's gardens, and it's a wonderful, calming, soothing nervine herb. But making a proper chamomile tea. My sister's a herbalist, so when I make chamomile tea for her, it has to be almost black. There's so much chamomile that goes into it. But the camazulene in it and the aromatics, it's calming, it's soothing. It's probably my go-to calming herb. It absolutely is. I think it's a massively underutilized herb.
Yeah.
People forget about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think thyme can also help with stress, and it's an antispasmodic, so
Oh,
somebody can.
Great idea.
Yeah, if somebody is like very tense and maybe their digestion is affected by the stress as well, thyme could also be one of those herbs to try
Monica,
to.
on air, will you come into clinic with me and run these free clinics that we're going to do?
Yes, I will.
There we go. We've got it. We've got it down. It's recorded.
Fantastic. And I guess the ones you mentioned there are pretty good. They're quite tolerable with medication and stuff like chamomile.
Chamomile is an easy one to
very
take, yes, and there's very little that you can not take chamomile with. I can't think of anything.
Allergy, maybe just some.
If
There's a
somebody's
minority
allergic,
of people who
yes.
may be allergic to it,
Okay.
but other than that, it's safe.
Brilliant. Question here about what's good for headaches. I guess rosemary
rosemary, fantastic, and mint
Yeah.
actually. And it's the essential oil of mint. I just usually have it in a little roller ball or put a few dabs on my forehead if I feel I'm getting a headache. It makes your skin feel cold if you put peppermint on. So great little headache bowl here of rosemary and peppermint. Lovely.
And I don't know if this would be advisable, but if someone wanted to make a really small, because you would need a lot, but if they want to make a small amount of essential oil just to dab themselves, what would be the process for that? Would there be an easy way to do it at home?
To make an essential oil out of this?
Yes.
Right, if you go and get the Alhambra still, we can have a go.
I'm not sure we've got just enough time, but we'll go through the more questions. But yeah, I guess you could grind them up and.
No, you need to get
Quite a lot.
these essential oils. You need a still. It's a
Okay.
distillation process, and when you're using them this way, you'll get aromatic elements, but you're not going to get the pure essential oil. Yeah.
Brilliant. Great. So I think those are a lot of the questions which came through live on air, but we will go through the ones which were sent through previously. So is there a general tonic that can be made for year-round immune support?
Yes. Onions, garlic, ginger, lemon, cinnamon, cloves. Fantastic.
Elderberries, maybe.
We could add elderberries into this.
Native.
Fantastic. And so with that mix of herbs that you've just mentioned, how would you go about it? Would you gently boil them or just let them soak in?
I think that if you're going to do something like this, you could make a medicinal honey and you could make a syrup.
Yeah, or fire cider vinegar as well.
Oh,
yeah,
fire
you could
cider.
just use like
Monica,
apple
let's
cider
make
vinegar.
next time. Let's make fire
I
cider.
love fire cider vinegar.
Yeah.
I put my chilies, horseradish in it. Also, garlic. A lot of those fresh herbs. I do put fresh rosemary in it, fresh thyme. Yeah, you can put some turmeric as well.
So
yeah.
just for me, I'm completely clueless. Apple cider vinegar you mentioned.
Yeah.
So
You
what's
just-
the process?
Yeah, so you just like put those herbs,
Good
fresh,
job.
dried, in a bottle, in a jar, and you just leave it on your windowsill. And yeah, like it extracts.
it's like
It's like a little spoonful a day in the shop.
Take like a tablespoon a day. Yeah, I put my chilies in it as well, so it's spicy.
It's like making a tincture. So you're going to your apple cider vinegar. Vinegar extracts. Vinegar was often used to make medicines. So fire cider is just packing it with all of your antimicrobials and chili, which I should have brought chili. Why didn't I bring chili? Because it's the most amazing medicine. It's used for pain relief and it's used in cold and flu mixes as well. So to answer the question, combinations of this. A medicinal honey or fire cider, extracting with apple cider vinegar is a brilliant way to do it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Anything that can help restore the sense of smell following COVID? Sorry, it's not a summer question. So no worries about it not being a summer question, but how to restore smell is quite a challenge.
I wish I had the answer to that. I have a number of patients in clinic and we've tried all sorts of things. I think one of the ways of working on it is to get a selection of essential oils and to try and retrain your sense of smell is a big part of it. And you obviously use herbs for the immune system, trying to use anti-inflammatories, and then you try to retrain the sense of smell. But there is no quick fix. I'm sorry.
This one's a bit of a longer one, but I hope it's going to be relevant. Hi Dee, I am particularly interested in any guidance or suggestions you have for sleeping issues, coupled with nighttime itching. I'm 64, so very much in the postmenopausal stage, having had an early menopause in my 40s. They're not taking HRT due to family history. They purchased the wild yam cream a few weeks ago and they're trying that. So this does sound like it might need a deeper.
I think it needs a deeper dive into what's going on, and as we were sort of starting to talk about earlier, we are going to be doing free consultations, aren't we?
Yes, we're only a few weeks away from launching that, so stick with us and we can we'll announce it and you'll be able to sign up for slots with yourself and Monica. I think you're both going to be doing it. So yeah, there'll be kind of a morning or an afternoon we'll be having drop-ins essentially.
And to try and help with sleep, chamomile, with itching and irritation, make a nettle tea, make a very strong chamomile tea at bedtime. So by strong, a really good handful of chamomile flowers in a teapot and not too much water, let it sit and maybe 15-20 minutes till it's really extracted, and then drink it and go to, and try that. We've also got many herbal remedies in the shop which we can help with. Yes.
Absolutely. I'm interested to know when to take dandelion leaf over dandelion root, but I think you covered that one.
Hopefully I did, yes.
What are good substitutions for alcohol when making tinctures? So I guess we've mentioned a few as well there. So
well, you can obviously make a tea. You can use apple cider vinegar, which is a really nice way of getting around the alcohol. In manufacturing of herbal medicines, we can use glycerin as well and make glycerates. And that's something that we do quite a lot at Napier's, and we have a good range of glycerates that we use in clinic.
The thing I think which is important to bear in mind is it depends what you're looking to extract from the herbs is really important for which solvents you then kind of use. Hi, any tips on how to deal with extreme heat intolerance other than peppermint tea? Thank you. So maybe they just don't like the taste of peppermint tea.
Well, try it cold. And if you don't like the taste of your tea, disguise it with something else. So I've had patients who I've said, make a tea, let it go cold, and then even use Ribena or use something to disguise the taste.
Lemon, honey, ginger, whatever you can
all
add.
Of the above. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Great. I am a 68-year-old female with menopause symptoms, looking for the best way to prevent vaginal thrush and associated symptoms.
Well, again, that's quite a big question. We want to get the bacterial balance correct. So we're talking about some probiotics. We're talking about trying to keep sugars out of your diet as much as possible. We're talking about possibly using, I use oils for this. So this is probably this is another webinar, but then when I'm working with my menopausal patients, I make an oil using an infused marigold oil, and I put a little bit of tea tree in it and a little bit of chamomile in it, and use that, apply that. That's really helpful. And then also using sea buckthorn oil to try and prevent the vaginal atrophy. That's really important. So we've got probiotics, we've got an oil that we can use. Using garlic and ginger and things in your diet is helpful, but there are many herbs you can use in a consultation. You can pull quite a lot of things together and it can be really supportive.
Fantastic. So yeah, another one to stay tuned for when we launch those discovery calls. Dee does have some available, but I think there's probably not going to be enough for everyone right now. So those days
we're going to pull them together
into
the whole half days, aren't we? Yes.
Absolutely. How to prepare a lotion or oil to expose the skin to the sun. So maybe not something we would really advise on unless it's done in a very
You mean the good old days when I used to cover myself in baby oil and olive oil and iron?
Probably not a dermatologist's dream
no, I think
concoction.
I think that you need to be, take lots of vitamins and minerals and wear lots of protection, sun protection. I don't advise, we've lost our ozone layer. I don't advise going and doing a lot of sunbathing. I think it's important to be out in the sun. I don't believe in covering ourselves completely and avoiding it, but I think that we need to be proportional and we need to use, clothes and sunblocks and hats and things.
Brilliant. Hi, I see a lot of conflicting advice on social media for using herbs and spices, and whilst it is a good platform to raise awareness of herbs, I worry that I may not be using them correctly or in the best way for their full benefits. Here's a couple of examples. I believe Cleaver's tea is good for flushing toxins from the kidneys, but can you overdo this? I recently saw that you should simmer raw ginger for its full benefits rather than chucking a few slices in a cup of hot water. Is this a valid concern, and what is the best approach for daily use of herbs? Is there a trusted reference platform? Many thanks, Joanne.
It's quite a big question, but I think we shouldn't get too caught up and worried about this. Let's use our common sense. If it tastes bad, don't drink it. And if we're going to use Cleavers for as a cleanser and as a detox and to support the kidneys, you do that. You'd be proportional. You probably wouldn't. Well, you wouldn't be able to drink it if you just made it too strong. It would taste horrible, and you'd be running the loo all the time. I suppose the analogy I would use is when you're cooking. How much of a herb and spice do you use when you're cooking? You use smaller amounts. So I think that if you're trying to self-treat, keep it proportional, use smaller amounts. If you want to use bigger amounts, make sure it's a tea, because the extraction is always less in a tea. But I think it's difficult to go wrong, and always ask.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
other thing is if you're
Yes.
using it to treat something medically, you're probably better off speaking to a qualified
Absolutely.
herbalist.
Absolutely.
Just to check in on what you're doing to see if it is within a reasonable amount or reasonable usage. And then just quickly, the question about ginger, is that fair? So it was around whether you have to simmer raw ginger
Well,
before slicing it.
ginger is a root, so it needs to be decocted, which means it needs to be simmered. So, you chop it up and you simmer it, and if you put too much on it, it's too much to drink, isn't
It's
it?
going to burn your throat.
It's too strong.
And
Yeah.
speaking of rhizomes, in terms of turmeric, it's quite good to extract it in milk because
Oh,
it extracts
yes.
in fats. So, for example, with fresh turmeric, I would just use
Boil it.
milk, boiling
Boil it.
milk.
So
yeah.
you were making a turmeric latte.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
Yeah.
you can crush some black pepper into
And a bit of
it,
cinnamon on the top.
some
Yeah.
cinnamon
Lovely, there you
on
go.
top,
So you've got
yeah.
a recipe for a
Bit
lovely,
of honey.
lovely latte. Can you recommend a herbal remedy for itchy red patches on facial skin?
Right. Well, I think I'd be saying, why have you got itchy red patches on facial skin? Your skin is the surface. What's going on underneath is really what's happening with skin. So I would really like to know why that's happening. So I'd probably be using nettle internally to try and cut down allergic responses and histamine responses. Possibly using chamomile topically. It's a really nice, gentle herb. It's anti-inflammatory. It's calming. Be a lovely one to use topically.
Yeah, maybe rose water as a mist.
Absolutely, that's a very nice idea. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yes, rose water is also really good for that rosacea as well. Isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yes.
it's quite cooling, good for redness. Yeah.
Is hay fever and allergies linked to Stevens-Johnson syndrome? What is a herbal preventative preparations for this?
Well, that's again a big
Bit
question.
more clinical.
It's a clinical question that we really need to talk to the patients about the Stevens-Johnson syndrome, how it's affecting them, how the hay fever is starting, and then see what we can do. We would be probably using nettle, we'd be using quercetin, we'd be using herbs that have anti-allergy like actions.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Hi Dee, I take numerous medications all year round for hay fever and sinusitis. Can you recommend a more natural way using herbs to manage this? I think we've probably covered that quite well.
We've talked a lot
Yeah.
about it, but there's one thing we haven't talked about, which is using a good old-fashioned neti pot. So a neti pot is like a teapot with a long spout, and you basically fill it with salt water and pour it up your nostril, and it clears out. You can buy nasal sprays that have a pretty similar action, but you are just buying more packaging, and using a neti pot is a really easy way of doing it. And traditionally, herbalists would give you herbs that you put in a neti pot, and you would flush your sinus passages out, and that's really helpful for hay fever and allergies.
Maybe using a barrier ointment could be quite
Oh,
helpful
yes,
as well,
yes.
to like catch the pollen, so before it goes into the
A little bit of
field.
Vaseline,
Yes.
or Haymax,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
any
absolutely.
sort of ointment.
Fantastic. Great, last couple of questions then. What can I do to stay cool at bedtime to be able to sleep on a hot summer's night? So again, we've touched on it a little bit. I guess what you could do is once you've brewed your peppermint tea, for example, is maybe put some ice in it and
Great
drink that.
idea. Or sage, cold
Sage.
sage, ice sage tea with chamomile, ice sage, and chamomile tea would be nice for menopause. That might very probably help you sleep. Yes.
Brilliant. And then one final one. Well, we've got two more, and then I think
Okay.
we've just running over slightly, so conscious of time as well. What herbs would you recommend for a 2-year-old for eczema itching?
Oh, well, bath herbs, and we haven't really spoken about that, but you can get a nice big square of muslin or an old nylon stocking and stuff it. So you've got
This is
one.
actually, I can speak from experience because unfortunately my daughter has got quite bad eczema, so we've not been using any soapy detergent, but not detergent, body washes or anything. So we've got a muslin cloth. We get some oats.
Oats.
We
perfect.
tie them up in the muslin, soak them in the hot or warm water, and then that liquid is just like gold dust really for cleaning her during bath time. So that's what we kind of do.
Absolutely.
I've been told by herbalists to be fair, so yeah.
And you can use chamomile as well. Bath herbs are a lovely way of, lavender in the bath as well. They're all fantastic things. And obviously your skin absorbs the herbs. If you're sitting in them, you're absorbed. You don't have a bath, you can make foot baths and hand baths. And again, that's a really nice way of taking a medicine.
Brilliant. So yeah, so nice soft muslin cloth, and then actually, as Dee rightly says, transdermal absorption is really good. We do also have a starflower cream. I don't know if starflower as a herb is something you would use topping in any way.
Well, the starflower cream is specific. There's an infant's one as well for eczema, and it's got lots of essential fatty acids in it, and it's just amazing anti-inflammatory. You do a patch test first to make sure there's no allergy. Yeah,
fantastic. Great. And then the last one we've got is, would nettle also help with teenage acne, more acne scarring? I'm thinking on, I have sea buckthorn. I think there's a question on.
Yeah, you can use sea buckthorn, and that's really good if you've got teenage acne. But nettle and dandelion and cleavers, actually, drinking this as a tea, great. It really, really helps. I mean, there's quite a lot you can do for teenage acne, supporting the immune system, helping to support hormone balance. So there is a lot, but drinking nettle tea will definitely help.
Again, and just on that one, so last final plug for our lovely herbalists, because I think there is a lot of value you can get even from just a really short discovery call for something like teenage acne, is to speak to them and see what other dietary issues, lifestyle problems, stress as well is another factor, and the herbalist can recommend some herbs which you can put together yourself, either if you buy them from us or if you wanted to get them from the outside world. You can then make your own teas and concoctions as well. But again, a herbalist would be able to really kind of point you in the right direction for what you would need.
I think that's so important, Arjun, that looking after yourself with herbal medicine does not need to cost a fortune. And there are things that you can do yourself. So we just love pointing you in that direction.
Yeah, and I think again, just touching on what Monica was speaking about, the generations of people passing down the knowledge, that's really what a herbalist has done, and they've collated all of this thousands of years of knowledge, and really kind of whittled it down into a real science, which can be done at home, but also sometimes it's good to get a second opinion.
Well,
someone who really knows.
We've done 4 years of 4 years each of training.
But that 1,000 years have been
a bachelor of science in herbal medicine, and yeah, there's a lot of research when you train to be a medical herbalist. Through Hartwood education, you're doing your anatomy, physiology, pathology, pharmacology, learning about botany, and you do a lot of medicine.
Absolutely. So all of that knowledge is presented in lovely people who listen, and we'll put together a lovely.
And we're part of the team at Napier's. We've got a great team of herbalists here.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Great. Well, I think we've overrun by about 15 minutes, but I've personally really enjoyed learning about all of these home herbal remedies and some of the plants which you can just find around the corner. So thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you again to Monica and Dee for your fantastic knowledge. I don't know if you want to add anything. Just
enjoy the herbs.
Have a great Easter.
If you eat too much chocolate, remember nettle and dandelion.